NSA. This is Anna Liotta, your president. I want to begin by saying thank you to all of you who have been in touch with words of support and updated information on the impact of the coronavirus in our business and in our industry. I know that this has been a tough week for all of us, both personally and professionally. Over the course of this week, I've been in dialogue with industry professionals, exploring how we can best partner and serve together in the current reality. Each meeting industry partner was incredibly generous with their time and their wisdom. Originally, I planned to share excerpts from the dialogues, but each one was so rich and so valuable that we decided to share them all in long form throughout the week. Professionally, we have each felt the significant impact that the coronavirus has had on our meetings, industry, and our livelihood. Please know that our CEO, Mary Lou Peck, the NSA board, and staff are actively engaged in addressing this highly complex, fluid, and evolving situation. And now, let us begin our first series with Certified Meeting Professional, CMP, Lynn Edwards, the CEO of Proper Planning. All right, so thank you, Lynn Edwards. I'm so glad that you've been able to join us. Lynn is the CEO of Proper Planning and a certified meeting planner. Lynn has also got 20 plus years doing corporate events. Lynn, tell us just a little bit about what's the scope of the events that you're working on right now and the clients that you're dealing with just right now. And then we'll go into what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. So Proper Planning is a full service event planning company. We carry a diverse portfolio. So we have immediately in the next week or so, we're working with a nonprofit fundraising group, which is church-based, and it is about 200 elderly citizens that we're planning to attend this one. We've got a large tech conference that we are a sponsor. My client has invested hundreds of thousands of dollars to be a sponsor at a tech conference in the Bay Area. That's about 15,000 people. And then we have our own tech conference locally in Seattle that's about 1,500 people. It's an awards celebration. So again, we have a diverse portfolio, state associations, nonprofits, corporate events, social events. We kind of work with all of them.
So you have a really great perspective on what's happening right now because you're covering the gamut.
Yes.
So let me just start off by saying, what is it that speakers can do right now to support you? Because you're working on both sides of it. You've got a whole complement of speakers, and then you've got a whole complement of clients, hotels. You're working with all the moving parts.
Yeah.
As members of the National Speakers Association, how can we best be partners to our meeting planners right now?
Well, I think that the priority for everybody is just sensitivity to the issue, right? It's a very fluid issue with updates coming in and the landscape changing hourly, so it's very difficult to even get a plan B, C, D in place because it could change given the updates. But I think from vendor relationship standpoint, it's really being sensitive to the fact that we do have a lot of moving parts that we're trying to manage if we choose to go forward, and the sensitivities around that, and or the actual logistics and execution of canceling and messaging that to everyone, our guests, the vendor partners, including speakers, and then also, just in general, what does that mean? The sponsors that have invested money, how do we manage their expectations if we're not delivering a live platform for them to engage with our audience? So it's multi-level. And I think from the speaker side, one of the key things that we're doing is just because we're not at a live event doesn't mean that a speaker's content couldn't be delivered. And we are leveraging our virtual live stream, webinar, conference calls, video capture. I've got a client that's just having all the speakers come locally into a hotel ballroom that we already paid for and just have a video team capture it, not live stream, but just capture it and deliver it at another time. So I think that uniquely with the speakers, you are a vendor that it's not an either or. There is a hybrid of capturing the content still and delivering to folks.
That's such an interesting, so they're going to have them come in, capture it, and then deliver it out. Do
Yep.
you want speakers right now reaching out to you and offering different modalities that they could deliver in? Or do you want speakers to let you call them when you're ready to have that conversation?
I think it's not a bad idea, just from a relational standpoint, to reach out and say, we understand this is a sensitive time. Please keep us posted. We want to support you. We understand there's some unique challenges that you're dealing with. We're ready to talk solutions when
Mhm.
you get there.
I think that's the key thing you just said, that people are approaching you as a solutions provider, not another challenge, obstacle, or issue to deal with, that they're coming and saying, this is what I can do to support this. Would you like that in an email right now? Would you like it
Yes,
in
I
a
think
text?
that's the best mode of communication, given the workload that is headed our way around cancellation. I think the other part of it is, what's been interesting to me is, as we message out a cancellation, we literally have had just a gamut of responses. Some people that are like, thank you for being responsible citizen and heeding the warning of the officials. We've had other people say, we can't believe you're canceling this. I've already booked my travel. I was expecting to do business with these folks. Like, really, irritated with us making what we feel to be a responsible decision. And it's, so what I would say about each client and each event is that it's very individualized. If in fact a speaker has made an investment of, a big travel investment, and they're not going to get any refund, those are hard costs that need to be accounted for. I don't think any professional meeting planner is assuming that a speaker would just waive everything and, no problem, we won't be there, we'll cover all the costs we incurred. I don't think I think it's a case-by-case scenario. It's something where most clients are opting to postpone if possible. And that's the decision-making process we're going through. Can this be with minimal financial and kind of a PR, can this be pushed without huge impact? And if it can, let's err on the side of caution.
I think
So
that's so critical. So there's
yeah,
kind of, we're in a particular stage right now where people are thinking about, this phase that we're in right now. It's about safety. People
it
are
is.
thinking, how do we be safe right now? While thinking about safety, they are also having to think about their brand and their reputation for the choice that they're going to make. Reputation going forward or reputation not going forward. So as
Yes.
partners, as speakers, we have to be thinking about, that's where this is coming from, and where we are in the mix of that is an important piece, but just a piece. So how
Yeah.
can we be partnering with our meeting planner as you do that? And also, how can we make sure that we're providing the solutions, like, I can get this much reimbursement for my flight. Maybe we have a relationship with the airlines and we can actually offer that this is only
Yeah.
the cancellation fee, or tell me some other ways that we could offer things to you right now, just to kind of take some pressure off of you, but also be in that partnering, because later on when you rebook, you're going to want to think about that, right? You're going to think about who was really helpful.
It's so true. I've been in the business 30 years and I've been through several crises around. I've been on the hotel side when people, canceled their events and left us trying to figure out how to make payroll. I've been on the other side of having a state association needing to cancel, given the landscape, the situation, and a hotel holding their feet to the fire, and me saying they've been in business for 80 years. And you will bankrupt this association if you hold their feet to the fire on this cancellation.
Mhm.
And when they get healthy, they'll be back and they'll remember how this transaction went down. So I think that is key, what you're saying. It's relational, it's situational, as far as what is the agreement, what is the event you're doing, was this an enormous fee that you were counting on to literally pay the light bill, and how do we recoup some of that? Everyone's in business, and I think when you talk about the business impact, people understand that. And then if everybody comes to the conversation solution focused and sensitive, that this is out of everybody's control, and this is not our intention to cancel everything, every vendor situation. This is not ideal for us either. So how do we find that happy medium of all of our speakers feeling like we were sensitive to their business model and the fact that an event went away? And that's why I think the virtual content is so important. There's so many great platforms to deliver content to people and still be sensitive to them not gathering in the same space.
That's a really great one. One of the pieces that NSA has as a benefit to our members is access to an enterprise license with Zoom. So we
Nice.
have negotiated on behalf of our large community of members that we purchase the licenses early so that they can get it at a severely discounted price. Now, here's the key thing. Probably a lot of your larger corporate clients have access to a web platform, perhaps.
Right.
But some
Right.
of the smaller clients perhaps don't have an enterprise access. And that's something I really want our NSA members to think about is they may have not taken advantage of the license at a significantly discounted fee, but that's something they could do now and come to you as an event planner and say, I've got
Yes.
an enterprise access. That means I can do webinars, I can do meetings, I can go live instantly. Would that be
Mhm.
usue to you if they already had the enterprise and could
Absolutely.
go live in a
Yeah. And some of our nonprofits or state associations don't have that. And so again, being a true partner is coming in collaboration around what is a great solution to not lose the entire experience for people. And again, to gain the valuable content that they would have got. One thing I think that's an interesting twist is this whole situation is reinforcing the value of live meetings and the importance of gathering. So, I'm always the glasses half full type of gal, but I do think that organizations are realizing the importance of traveling and meeting face to face and gathering as a community and sharing content in a live experience. So, I think that that's somehow reinforcing the value of what we all do.
I think
In the
that's
long
so
run.
important because I did a ad hoc survey of our members. And one of the things that came up in the question was, is this the new normal? Is virtual going to be the new normal? And I think you're addressing it right there, which is not the new normal. Yes, certainly a viable option. At
Yeah.
times we may leverage it more because of this experience than we've ever leveraged it before. But the meetings and gathering together will never go away. It's just that we
Yeah.
could all increase our ability to deliver in both and, not either or. Is that right?
I would agree. And I think as people, it's a technology, right? So as people get more comfortable with it as an option, I think they'll use it more. So I don't think it'll replace live events. Again, I think we're actually reinforcing in this situation the importance and the value of gathering. But I think it will get people, if they use these tools as an interim option, they will add that to their offerings as they move forward because they've had an experience now where they had to use it. So now they're going to opt to use it, I think.
So let's talk about money just for a second here, because I know that a lot of people are thinking about their contracts right now, whether they had a clause in their contract about cancellation, if the client canceled, if they needed to cancel, all those different things. We won't get super legal in the
Yeah.
way that we're framing it. I chatted with an attorney that we'll show later in our series. But what I do want to talk about is as a partner with you right now. If I had a clause or if I had a contract that said 50% up front and then 50% 10 days before, and we're 10 days out, how do I come to you at this moment? What's the best approach to you? Not like, I've got a contract, but what's the language I should use as I'm speaking with my partner?
I think I would start with, can we talk about our contractual agreement? As you know, we're compensated for what we do as a professional speaker, and this is our business. And as other businesses are at this time, it's impacting us tremendously. So what I'd like to understand is, what are you able to adhere to contractually, even though you're canceling? And so what we're saying for many people is, again, okay, we've paid the deposit. Can we transfer that to a new date? We don't want to, cancel altogether. Some organizations are in a position where they simply don't have the revenue to support the payment they signed for. If you've got registration revenue and people who are opting to not come because they're concerned, and sponsors opting to not come and pay money because the audience wasn't there, you then eat away at some of these. It depends on the business model, but you eat away at the funding source to be able to pay your speakers. So there could be a tough conversation, courageous conversation from the event planner organization to say, we simply don't have the funds to honor that. Now, if you, again, want to take us to task to the letter of the contract, I guess we'll go there. And we're on our side, we're going to beef up on the legal side to say this was out of our control. It may have not have been covered in force majeure in our contract, but it is out of our control. The other thing that's be interesting, as the governments produce guidelines, you can rely on that. The event planning organization could say, the government told us not to gather. So therefore, we're not held liable to these contracts. So it could get a little messy if, again, the organization can't literally pay it, and then they get held to the contract. It could be devastating, and it could be legal, and there could be all that conversation. But I think that, again, cooler heads, reasonable partnership. I understand that you book travel. I understand that we've paid your deposit, and we're not in a position to be able to refund that, or can you please apply that down the road? It's just a case by case. And I think coming to everybody and saying, this is our business, this is what we do, just like Delta flies people and, the Hyatt holds people, this is what we do. And we held the date. All we have to sell is our time. And we've held that date off our books for a year as a speaker. This is a, consumable commodity that's now we don't have the ability necessarily to resell it. So we need to have some financial compensation.
I like the term you just said, reasonable partnership. I think that's a really good frame for us all to think about right now, and really having that 360 understanding of what is reasonable partnership.
One of the key points, I think, is to approach the partnership with the two words, tell me more, or tell me. Tell me more about your budget scenario given the cancellation. Tell me more how you're handling other vendors. Tell me more. You really want to be on a fact-seeking mission to understand what the organization is really reeling from and what their pain points are. That will position you in any negotiation to have a better approach. When you start with that, I took we had a speaker on stage at one of our events, and she was a negotiator for a living, and she said, that's how I start every negotiation. Tell me more about, and then it arms you with how to respond.
Oh, I love that.
Someone might say, as a planner might say, we're only able to do 50. Let's say you come to it as a speaker and you're assuming you're going to have to forfeit your whole fee. And if you say, tell me more how you're handling your other vendor contracts. And they say to you, we're honoring all deposits, but we can't do the final payment. Right there, you now are in a position to know that you're going to get your deposit. So it's a really great, just a skill set to be able to find out more before you make an ask of, well, I've signed a contract. What are you doing? Are you going to pay me or not? So
that's a great way. That's a great way to approach it, and so useful for us, because that shows that you're in partnership, but it also isn't coming at it from a hard angle into what might already or definitely is a really tough situation.
Yes.
You were saying earlier about when there is a policy put out about travel. And so I wanted to kind of underline, we're in a phase right now where there is not a ban on travel inside the US. And so that's really important, because that puts you in a particular position of anything you choose to do right now as a meeting planner, whether it's postpone, whether it's reschedule, whether it's cancel, is coming inside of that framework, that there is not a current protection by having a ban in place, correct?
Right. And like I said, what's interesting is the responses are so varied, because some people, again, are like, thank you for being responsible. We would not be comfortable traveling. Then there's people saying there's not a travel ban. Some groups were coming back and said, in fact, there is a travel ban inside of these 5 tech companies. They are not allowed to move about the country. So 80% of our audience is under a travel ban internally, even though it's not nationally. So again, so many different scenarios. People have asked for guidance here, and I'm just like, it just depends on so many factors. This group that we have that's primarily elderly, and I was saying, you have to recognize you have maybe an at-risk population. You have to make a different decision than this tech company over here because of who's coming in chairs. Like it would be hard to come back from something to have an event for elderly people and have an outbreak. I just don't know how you would recover from that. It would be really difficult, and they're looking at you to be responsible and have guest safety as the number one priority, even if you take the hits from vendors or attendees that don't agree with your decision. You have at least, done the prudent thing to make sure that your guests are safe. Very good. Every planner should have that as their number one thing.
Excellent. Well, let's shift here for a minute and go to, how do we help the events that are going forward be a great success? I'm thinking that if you say it's going forward, we say, great, I'm ready to fly. And you don't want us to be like, I don't know if I'm going to fly. You want us to be like ready. Yes.
Yeah, and I think that professional speaker, a keynote, or somebody on the stage in front of a large gathering could lean into it and say, touch an elbow of somebody. Let's get used to this kind of interaction. Thank you for having the courage to be here today and proceed with our lives, given that the science showing that it's not a big risk, but that perception, can impact people's decisions. But look at you, brave audience that came out today, and we appreciate you being here because this is critical information we're sharing. I don't know. I think just to lean into it and acknowledge it from the stages of all the speakers, to say thanks for being here. We've done all this stuff to make you safe, and we appreciate you putting your faith in us to keep you healthy.
Excellent. Now, is there anything we can do before? We know we got to kill it during. We got to, just make sure that we are rock stars on stage. But maybe we can do some additional videos or buzz or social media before and after to help the event buzz. Would that be useful to you?
Yeah, I think that putting out some kind of, as we know, gathering live is the best way to connect, the best way to share information. Just reinforcing the fact that the live gathering has value, and we're excited to see you, and you're not going to want to miss this. A speaker can definitely help encourage attendees to just drive on and attend. Mm-hmm. You can help the planner, and that's where I would go back to talking to your contact and saying, how can we help encourage those who still want to participate to and reinforce that we are having this event. It's going to be great value for them.
Excellent. Do you want people reaching out to you right now about anything beyond the next 3 weeks to 2 months as far as events come? Do you want us marketing to you right now, or do you want us to give a little bit of a window of time?
Yeah, and there was a comment on an internal event planner Facebook page about a vendor saying, I'm going to intentionally, give you time to breathe here, and I'll be back in touch. You know where to find me when you're ready to buy. But yeah, being sensitive to it, it's just such a, again, fluid situation. And day by day, 11:30 last night, I got the notice that this, 15,000 person event in the Bay Area is canceled it's supposed to start move-in Monday. So imagine the swirl that we're in around. We've shipped, promotional material. It's now in a warehouse somewhere. We need to get it back. It's a real thing, and it's been long days the last week. Obviously, located here in Seattle, we're in the epicenter of it, and it's just every day there's news conference. It's a lot to process. So you've got a lot of factors. I certainly would be happy to be a resource for anybody as you look through the decision process, or if you get a sticky wicket with a planner, happy to be a resource and talk through maybe the best approach. I think this experience, again, has a lot of silver linings. It's relational, and when you've done business with a great speaker for years and they work with you on this, you're going to remember that they were there for you, and that they helped you promote attendance if you did choose to continue the event, that they waived part of their fee because they understood you financially couldn't meet that obligation. It's reinforcing how great live meetings are, but it's also reinforcing the importance of a relationship with your partners and partnership around event and a speaker. Yes. That's a true partnership that you can grow and support them in the right way. So
yeah, that relationship piece will extend beyond this current challenge. And that's what people have to keep in mind is
it will
look at what's right and really negotiate for what's right. But you also got to look at, there's a 360 included in that. And how do we make sure we're partnering in it?
I think the biggest thing with working with speakers, and particularly professional speakers, is that just really don't underestimate your value. You're just like us ordering the AV and the catering and everything else. You're an event spend that is great value to us. And so, be sensitive, but also don't give away the farm. Really stick to the fact that this is a business that you invested time in, and then again, you had the date for a long time. You do need them to reschedule. It's okay to be firm in your expectations around, again, I held the date. It was providing a service, and let's talk about the next date we can reschedule. Please honor me as the speaker for the next one because of the fact that I'm, working with you on this one. So I guess that's my one tip would be, don't underestimate your value, and don't assume you have to give everything away because of the situation. Work through it diligently with a lot of solution options and retaining as much, compensation as you can.
Yeah, I think that's really great, because when people reschedule, and I'm kind of seeing the three, it's a postpone, indefinitely. It's a
Yes.
reschedule right now, or it's a cancel altogether and say, we're not trying to reschedule it.
Yeah.
So if someone is saying reschedule in the future, but we don't know which day, or postpone indefinitely, what if they come back and I've got a 50% deposit, they come back and I can't do that date? What's the best language at that point to say, I get that you're going to have to hire someone else because that's the new date you've picked because it was a date I, already booked. What's the best way to partner with you then?
I think, again, speaking of the business perspective, I had this date on hold. It's basically, you've bought that from me, and I wasn't able to resell it to somebody else. And if I'm not able to sell it to you May 3rd, I still need to be compensated for the fact that I held it for, March 10th. I really think that it's the business sense of, like I hear hotels saying, well, we've bought the chicken, we've staffed accordingly. That's a hard cost we have absorbed. And I think that's the case with speakers. You had a hard cost associated with holding that date for this event. And so work through that. And I think it's, again, being creative around, well, because I can't come on your new date in June, maybe I could do a 3-series webinar for you and you could compensate accordingly. It's that creative thinking. We had sponsors that were canceling, and I said, you've invested in seeing this audience of X amount of people at this live event. We represent 3 times as many people virtually. Let's do a sponsored editorial series where you're able to get on video and we can give you far greater reach than we would have at the live event. So over deliver on the value. And I think it's being creative around, what do I have that you want, that you paid for, and how can I still deliver it even though I can't be on stage because of this?
That's really great. That's
got to be creative and resourceful. That's number 1 tip of being a meeting plan.
That's right. Creative
and resourceful.
Deliver value. I love
exactly.
it. I love it. Well, Lynn, I am so appreciative of your time. Thank you so generously. I know that crazy that's going on around you, and I just appreciate that you stopped and took time to have this conversation and help our members and be a great partner in the meetings industry.
Well, thank you, Anna, and congratulations to you for your leadership in taking this on as a conversation, and to all the professional speakers out there. We appreciate you. We would have the events if we could. We know that you bring great value, so thank you for all that you do to be partners and be our content. We can't put on a show without great speakers, and you guys are super valuable. So, know your value, stick to it, and we'll get through this together.
Thanks. That was just the first of the series of interviews that we'll be sharing over the course of this week. Lynn gave us some great tips, and I hope you took away some valuable insights. We recognize that it is important for NSA leadership to keep the lines of communication open, and we will continue to provide information as it becomes available. Stay tuned. Soon, we'll be announcing a town hall live just for you. Thank you for your time. We're so glad you came.